January the 19th, 2025. Guys, you're looking at a still shot. This is from NBC News, but it's on every channel, every YouTube channel, almost every mainstream channel, and of course the conservative sites like the Gateway Pundit, Breitbart, places like that. And you probably are very familiar with it because it is so widespread. But this picture is from inside a Baptist church in St. Paul. And Don Lemon pre-planned this with a group of agitators. One lady is a lawyer for Black Lives Matter, and they're all paid. And one guy was a big, tall guy, claims to be a farmer, had been arrested several times in the protest, was in there really getting in people's faces, intimidating, and it was outrageous. Now, I guess up there the gun control laws are really tough, but I know some churches now, they have armed people because of the church shootings. And probably some of our churches around here are ready for something like that. And if that happened, it may be a different outcome. But here they kept it the preacher and the folks in the church kept it very calm as they could. But it kept getting out of hand and everything. Well, as I mentioned earlier, it went immediately nationwide and now worldwide. And this video did with Don Lemon, and Don Lemon was harassing the preacher, and Don Lemon lied. He said he was just being a journalist. But then what he did, he's so stupid that he showed a video before this happened of him arriving there and meeting with this group and saying, we're going somewhere, I can't really tell you where it's at, but we're going to blow it up. Anyway, kind of like that's what he said. And all of that got back to Pam Bundy and the assistant DA, or second in charge there, what's her name, Harmit Dillon. And she is coming down very hard on this entire group. Don Lemon could face life in prison. Maybe the rest of these people will too, because they broke one law, which is called the FACE law. You can't go into a private building, especially a church, and interrupt prayer. And you can't claim First Amendment. You can't claim that you're a journalist. None of that. There's not anything that overrides those laws. So they're going to charge them with the KKK law, excuse me. And that's a federal offense. And they can do that because this is with this group, and it was pre-planned. They videoed it in the dang parking lot when they all got together. Don Lemon brought them all like cartons of Starbucks coffee. Well, conspiracy, that really amplifies charges, especially on something like this. It doesn't really matter, but when you add conspiracy in there, you add big charges. Now, we've been hearing that Trump is going to send 1,500 troops in there. You've already got 3,000 people in there between Border Patrol and ICE. And what we've seen the last few nights is that in the live stream there outside the ICE facility, that the Sheriff's Department has finally stepped in to where I didn't notice anybody from ICE having to come to that front gate and grab people like we've been seeing. I guess... Anyway, someone got the message, and now the Sheriff's Department's there, but the crowd is continuing to pile up. And earlier today, when I looked, it was like 1 degree there. And there goes my puppies out there with their afternoon howl. Anyway, so now I don't know if you can hear it. Just for a minute, I'm going to turn my mic up. That's what 9 huskies, a German Shepherd, and a white lab sound like singing together. At least twice a day. If we don't get up exactly at daylight when they do with snacks ready, we're going to hear this. Luckily, it's real cold and they're out on the deck, because they'll do it in here. But anyway, it's dying off a little bit. Sorry about that. A lot of people enjoy the huskies, and I really do. But anyway, the 1,500 troops looks like they're going to be pushed into here, into the Minneapolis, St. Paul area. Because, and what's happening is the politicians there, Frey and Waltz, are trying to divert from their guilt in the fraud. That's what this is about. And I'm pretty sure Don Lemon is in on that with them, because now it looks like your mayor there, Frey, has got some Chinese connections, money coming from there for some of this to happen. Think about that. Anyway, the 1,500 troops are not just National Guard units or regular Army. They are the 11th Infantry, Airborne. And they're coming out of Alaska. And what they do is they train in extremely cold snow and ice. You know how Alaska is. They jump out of planes in that weather. And they train how to survive through it. They say, we don't just survive it, we control it. That's how well trained they are. And that division has roots going all the way back to World War II, possibly World War I, the Korean War, and ties with the 101, the group that ended up occupying Japan because we didn't have to invade it because of what happened. But now the 11th Airborne, called the Arctic Angels, looks like they were told to prepare about a week ago. But now what we're seeing here with the other riots, and we saw the attacks downtown, and nobody's doing anything about it. I think that we're about to see the Arctic Angels. Let me give you a little information about those guys. And it really couldn't have been planned better because, again, it's cold, and it's going to be much colder this weekend in Minnesota than the 1 degree it was a few hours ago. It's probably 0 or less. That's not with the wind chill factor. But this Facebook page is from the 11th Airborne Division. This was on January the 15th, 4 days ago. And I think this is an older poster, and it's kind of like a publicity deal. What they're saying, the Arctic breaks assumption in modern military strategy. On the Arctic front line, soldiers of the Airborne Division train where adaptation is not optional and survival is earned. As the Army's Arctic and extreme weather doctrine reminds us, the environment is a constant adversary that shapes every operation. Now you know why they're going into Minneapolis. We do more than endure it, we master it, training, innovating, and thriving in extreme cold, limited infrastructure, and complex terrain. That's who's going in there. And I noticed in the comments, I put one in there that said, God bless you guys, that a lot of people are already realizing what's going on. We'll just scroll down here a minute. Let's see, let me find what I saw earlier. Jim Roach said to the dear 11th Airborne Division, if there was ever an illegal order, and this goes back to Mark Kelly and that group, deployment to Minnesota is one of such order that you need to disobey. Thank you for your service. And someone's here, keep your hands off Greenland. And they are in that area. And to me, it's got to be an important operation they're going to do in Minneapolis, because they are kind of front line with Russia and people like that, because they're in Alaska and they're trained. But it wouldn't take long between who's there now, 3,000 agents, maybe more, and then you 1,500 people of these folks, guys. And like I said, if you watch some of the videos that they show, they are jumping out in snow conditions into, looks like the frozen tundra. Maybe 100 of them jumping at a time, both sides of the plane going out. And as soon as they hit the ground, they start getting their survival gear ready. It's an amazing thing to see. A little bit of weather in Minnesota is going to be a summer holiday for what they're going through now. And it will be a break for them, because it could be in the minus 60s up in that area this weekend. And Minnesota's, you're going to be looking at like minus 11, things like that. So it's going to be cold. But these guys can handle it. And again, that's whoever did it, either Trump or Pete from the Department of War, planned it perfectly. come in, take advantage of the weather. Again, what do they say? They survive in it. They like it. And they've got women jumping with them. So you got not just guys, let me correct that. You got guys and gals. You got the 11th Airborne, the Arctic Angels. So that's going to be very interesting. Now, I had mentioned going live if we and see what kind of updates we got going on. I'm not sure what is going on tonight, but if there's a couple of feeds going on where we see what activity is starting to happen there, I will come on live. Anyway, guys, this is real. This is what's about to happen. And I think, just like they pushed the protesters, even the lady that got shot, they were paid to be there and do that. But Lemon and that group are trying to start a civil war. He's almost brain dead. He has a few cells left, and I think that would be enough to know that he would get in serious trouble for doing what he did, unless they thought they could get away with it, and they were paid a lot of money. Because someone's trying to instigate what I would call chaos and trying to create absolute destruction. But again, go 11 Airborne. We're all for you. And Arctic Angels, you'll be in our thoughts. Go in there, do what you got to do. And when you're in the swamp, don't forget to get the alligators, Waltz, Frey. And one other thing, you got the Governor Waltz there with the Minnesota National Guard on standby. And I saw pictures yesterday where they're kind of stationed on the edge of town, different military vehicles, the National Guard kind of yellow color. And will they stand down when these guys get there? Or will there be a conflict? I don't know, but I guarantee you it won't come out the way the National Guard there want it to if they decide to do this. Because these people are trained just like the folks that went in to Venezuela and got Maduro, except in the Arctic. And they probably have the same type tools that were used in Venezuela. Anyway, I wanted to update that, guys. Again, if we see a live stream or two, and it looks interesting, I'm going to be paying attention to it over the next few days because of what we're seeing here right now. Anyway, guys, be safe. Keep your head up.